Hi, I'm Dennis Phillips, and welcome to Everyday Reloading and Shooting. All right, welcome back. Recently, I was looking back over my reloading journal and looking at some of the best loads that I had for the CFE223 powder and 73 to 75 grain bullets. And I found charge weights between 22.5 and 24.5 grains of powder with several in between. So what I'm going to do over the next few weeks is I'm going to do a comparison with 5 different bullets. I'm going to look at a 73 grain ELD match, a 75 grain ELD match, a 75 grain boat tail hollow point bullet, a 75 grain Berger VLD target bullet, and a 77 grain Nosler boat tail hollow point bullet. So I'm going to be loading charge weights from 22.5 to 23 to 23.5 to 24 to 24.5 grains. And I'm going to test those loads with these 5 bullets and see how they compare against each other. And we'll shoot 10-shot groups of each. And I'll be starting with the 73 grain ELD match. All right, so stay tuned. And I will be sharing the results as they're available. Welcome back. Today we're at the Georgia Gun Club 100-yard indoor rifle range, and I will be shooting my Tikka T3X chambered in 223 Remington, mounted in an MDT Oryx chassis with a Vortex Diamondback Tactical 6-24 by 50 first focal plane rifle scope. I'll be shooting, as mentioned in the intro, 73 grain ELD match bullets with CFE 223 powder, and we're shooting charge weights from 22.5 grains to 24 grains. We'll be shooting at 100 yards. As always, you're welcome to enjoy the music while I fast forward through my shooting, or you can skip forward to the results that follow. Shooting at 100 yards. All right, I believe I found one load in here that works. So let's bring it in and take a look. All right, here's one. We've got 9 out of 10 shots all touching here, and that's probably just under 3/4 of an inch for that group. This was my last shot, and I was praying that I wouldn't pull that one, but apparently I did. But this, I think, is a pretty good indication of how that load is shooting with that bullet. If you see the others, this was my fouling group. This was my first shot right here, and then I adjusted it because I don't want to destroy my point of aim, so I try to adjust this so that it will deliberately shoot about an inch high. These clustered okay. That's a pretty round group, not bad. Not bad here. We've got several touching here with 5 off to the side by themselves, but a 5-shot group there. A little more scattered, a little more scattered. So as we increase the charge weights, they're scattering out. But at this 23 grains right here, that one looks to be really tight. So again, we will be shooting other rounds. We'll be shooting a 75 ELD match, a 75 boat tail hollow point, a 75 Burger VLD, and a Nosler 77 grain. And I'll be shooting these same charge weights. And it'll be interesting to see if that charge weight performs similarly with those other rounds. All right, so we will take these home, measure them with the Hornady ballistics app using the group analysis, and I will get back to you here in a second with the results. All right, welcome back. I've got my results from the range. I've come home and I've measured these with the Hornady ballistics app using the group analysis function. In all of these, we're shooting a Hornady 73 grain ELD match bullet, and we're shooting CFE223 powder. We're shooting at charge rates from 22.5 to 24.5. Some people only measure extreme spread, which is the farthest distance apart between any 2 shots within that group. So if you're shooting a 5-shot group and you say, I've got a 0.75 group size, I'm doing great. Well, you've completely ignored 3 of those shots. If you shoot a 3-shot group and you measure 2 of them, then you're ignoring the other shot. So what this does, we're measuring by mean radius. We're also looking at the area of the group. Group 1 on the right, and you can see the screenshot from the Hornady app on the left. And so you see where I'm getting these measurements from with a group size of 1.27. That's signified by the red line with a marker on each of the extreme shots. The mean radius here is in blue ink, and in this case it's 0.40, and a radius is half of a circle. And so if you double that, that gives you an average group size of 0.80 inches, and that's on 10 shots. So measuring this way gives you a little bit more information than just measuring extreme spread only. And also, I'm looking at the area. If you see the little pencil lines here, the horizontal and vertical lines that I've got on each side making a square, that's from the highest impact to the lowest impact, and from the furthest left to the furthest right. And so you measure those 2 distances, and that gives you an area. So in this case, we had an extreme spread of 1.27, but because those shots are diagonal, you've got an area inside of there that's only 0.92 inches, because it's reduced by the fact that even though you've got a 1.26 width, you've got a 0.73 height. You multiply the 2, and that gives you a 0.92 group size. In calculating the mean radius, what you're doing is you're measuring the distance from this average point of impact to each one of these other impacts on the outside. And there are 3 right here, 4 clustered together at the center, and then 2 over here. And so you're going to take that distance and you're going to average that. And when you do, that gives you an average of 0.40. Okay, so we're going to look at these groups individually. So on this first group, we just looked at that. We're at 22.5 grains of powder, and we're traveling at 2,538 feet per second. So all of the velocities that we talk about here are based solely on information derived from the Hornady reloading manual. Anyway, at this 22.5 grains of powder, we have an extreme spread of 1.27, a mean radius of 0.40, which gives you an average group size of 0.8, and we have an area of 0.92 inches. At 23 grains of powder, we're supposed to be traveling at 2,566 feet per second. This was by far my best group of the day. I have one single hole, as you can see here, one single ragged hole with a flyer off to the side here, and that was my last shot. And man, you can imagine how disappointed I was. In fact, I was praying, Lord, don't let me mess this up. And it seems like every time I pray and bring the Lord into it, I usually end up pulling one. So I did here, but even though that flyer is out there, we've got an extreme spread of just over an inch at 1.01 inches, and that's with 10 shots fired. because of this cluster right here, we have a mean radius of 0.25, which gives you an average group size of 0.40. And when you measure the width and the height, you've got an area under a half an inch at 0.49. All right, now because of this flyer here, if you take that out of the equation, I redid this, and here's a photo with that flyer removed. And we've got an extreme spread now with 9 out of 10 shots, 0.60 inches, a mean radius of 0.20, which gives you an average group size of 0.4, and you've got an area of 0.17 inches because of that stinking flyer right there. All right, but that was my best group of the day, and that's going to be the winner for the day. Yay. All right, at 23.5 grains, we're traveling at just under 2,600 feet per second at 2594. Now, this group has an amazing resemblance to the first group, where we've got a cluster here and a flyer off to the side. Same here, we've got a cluster here, and we have a flyer high and to the right as well there. Well, because of that flyer, we have an extreme spread of 1.01 inches. Again, the same as the first group at 1.01. We have a mean radius now of 0.37 inches because we're a little more spread out here. We have an area of 0.86 inches, so still under an inch, because you would think an inch group wide, an inch group tall, you're shooting under an inch, that would be a 1 inch square. So here we're at 0.86. And again, with a flyer here, if you take that flyer out, now your group is at 0.88 inches, so you're well under an inch. So you've got a 9 out of 10 chance of hitting an inch target at 100 yards with this round here. All right. So in this case, we're shooting 0.27 inches to the right and 0.94 inches high. That's our average point of impact. And so what you can tell from that is you look at the target as a whole, and you see that your average point of impact is increasing. So we're going, in this case, from 0.68 to 0.94 to 1.06 to 1.19. That's an indication that because the velocity is increasing, your trajectory is now somewhat flatter to the target. So you're going to be hitting a little bit higher. And you'll also notice that they're beginning to move to the right. So here, for example, at 23 grains, where I had such a good group, you've got 0-0 for the windage, meaning I was dead on center with the average center, and you see the blue cross right there, and we're shooting 0.68 inches high. We move over to the next one, we're 0.94 inches high and a quarter inch to the right. We move to the next one, we're now 0.45 to the right and an inch 06 high. Next is 0.64 to the right and 0.119. So as that charge weight is increasing, that barrel is torquing because that bullet is traveling down a rifled barrel, and it's causing that barrel to twist. And so what's happening there is that with the increased charge weight, as that barrel twist, it changes your point of impact and sends those bullets higher and to the right. And of course, with any powder, you've got to find your optimal charge weight. It certainly appears to be 23 grains at 2,566 feet per second. So we may have to expand around that a little. I don't know that I can tighten that up any. Maybe I could. The next thing might be to experiment with seating depth, but I'm going to be testing other bullets as well. The 75 boat tail hollow point, the 77 Nosler boat tail hollow point, the 75 ELD match, and the Berger VLD target. So I'm going to be running these same charge weights for each of those bullets and shooting 50 rounds of each. And then we'll compare and see if there's really a difference in what that bullet likes in terms of powder, or if there's a zone in there where we can maybe tighten these groups up. Okay, so we've looked at 23.5. Moving on to 24 grains. Back up. Our best charge weight was at 23 grains. And as we continue to increase the powder charge, those groups continue to open up. So we go from an extreme spread of 101, another one of 101 to 132, and then 151. So that group size is getting wider as the powder charge increases. Some of that could be the shooter. But when you're shooting a 10-shot group, you tend to trust those statistics more than you would a 3-shot or a 5-shot group. So if the rifle and that round are shooting consistently, you should be getting a consistent group size, not a scattered group size. All right, so at 24 grains, we're traveling at 2622 feet per second. We have a 1.32 extreme spread. We're shooting a ½ inch to the right and an inch high. We've got a mean radius of 0.47, which a mean radius of 0.47 doubled gives you an average group size of 94. So still got an average group size under an inch. Your area here, you've got a 132 width and a 0.79 height, so you've got an area of 104. So an inch seems to be kind of the magic number that you want to stay under, not just for your group size, but also for the area. All right, at 24 and a half, we're traveling at 2,650 feet per second, and they're scattering. The more you increase the charge, the more they're scattering, so I don't think going higher on the charge weight is going to have the magic of bringing it back together. I just don't see that. But, okay, so we're shooting at 0.64 to the right, 1.19 high, so again, it's going higher and further to the right. That's our average point of impact. We have an extreme spread of 1.5 inches at 1.51 and a mean radius of 0.56, which is going to give you an average group size over an inch. It'll make it 1.12 inches. And the area, because of this flyer down here, and I didn't calculate this group without the flyer, but I'm sure if you take that out, that's going to be probably, you're going to be going from here to here. That's probably still going to be at least 1.25 inches from there to there. Just over 1.5 inches, right at 1.5 inches. All right. But anyway, the shots are continuing to spread out as you increase that charge weight. So I'm going to say that the optimal charge weight for this powder and bullet is right there, 23 grains. 2,566 feet per second. I would be interested to check that with a chronograph to see just how accurate it is. But I'm certain that if you check these in your rifle, it's going to be different from what's stated here because every rifle is different. All right, but this is where I'm going to focus for this particular powder and bullet. When I'm shooting the 73 ELD match, I'll be working around that 23 grains. Anyway, those are my results. If you have any thoughts, ideas, or comments, please share those below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.